Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jennie will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger, helping you whip your business into shape. And today, I'm really excited to have Matt Brown with me. The reason is because Matt Brown actually started as a member of the Badass crew, just like you. He reached out to me one day. All of a sudden, I get all these Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp requests from this guy named Matt Brown. I'm like, what is going on? And he sent me a message in WhatsApp talking about how he loved the podcast, loved all this, and we've stayed in touch. And then one day I was like, why haven't I had you on the show? That's just crazy. Let's get you on the show. And so here he finally is. And I am so excited to share him with you. So a little bit about Matt. He is a former chief of physical training for the Royal Navy. So get ready, peeps. We have an accent on the show. This is so fun. And he's now turned a health entrepreneur using test-based health and nutrition to keep the world fighting fit. I love this. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Jennie. It's it's funny, isn't it, how long we've actually been speaking to each other, and I've got so much from your podcast as well. I remember the first one I listened to was about contact mapping, and went through all of that, and then so many other things, and it just leads you down a different path of discovery of education and new things, especially when you're new into the industry as well. You want to be a sponge, right? You want to soak up as much of that information as you possibly can.
Yeah. And I know some of the messages you'd sometimes send me were on your commute back and forth to work. You'd be like, hey, I'm driving. Don't worry. It's bad traffic. I just wanted to tell you, oh my gosh, that episode was so-and-so. And I learned this. And now I'm going to go put this into play. And I love receiving those kind of messages, y'all. So hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Tell me when you're learning something, because I'll bring you more of it. But so Matt, tell us your journey of starting in the military and ending into where you are now as a full-time entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I'd take myself back. Oh my goodness. So I was a tender age of 16, and I remember I wasn't really very good at school. I was one of those kids who was always looking out the window. We're going to play sport. We're going to do this. And it would always be like a shout across the room, Matthew, you're paying attention. Oh yeah, I'm paying attention. But I really wasn't. I was so active as a kid, kind of like, that always wanting to do sport, physical training and everything. So it was in my blood. And at the age of 16, I realized that I didn't have an opportunity or vision to go to university or education or anything like that. So the easy thing to go into the military to get fed, watered, sheltered and shouted at was really simple. And I thought, well, if I can just keep my head down, I'll survive. And I really, realistically, when I joined, the thought of 22 years was a really long stretch, but I just took every day as it came. And I originally joined as a chef, loved cooking for people, loved the nutrition side of it and helping people to feel good, because a ship fights on its stomach, and good food creates a good vibe on the ship. And then I think about 8.5 years, I transitioned to be a PT. I did that for the rest of my time and actually saw out 26 years in the end, and was really, really fortunate at the end of my career to be the chief physical training instructor for the Royal Navy College of Officers in Dartmouth, in Devon, sorry. And that was my last job, and it was fantastic. A brilliant way to see out my career, which ended last month, actually. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. I love it. And so at what point in this were you introduced to entrepreneurial, a network marketing opportunity?
Well, do you know what? It's probably not the right way to introduce a story of network marketing, but I was actually drinking wine in my friend's bar. And I remember sitting there, and we'd been speaking for a couple of months. He just opened his new restaurant. We got chatting. And he said, is health important to you? And I was like, yeah, of course it is. You know, my job is in the Navy as a chief physical training instructor. He went, oh, right. Left it at that, walked away, served me another wine. Perfect, really. And then after a couple of times, he kept coming back. And he sat with me one day and he said, I'd love to give you a test you out because you're a healthy looking guy. And, you know, I'd love to know what your health is like on the inside. So he gave me this test, which obviously we will discuss in a little while. And I was interested in it, but you know what? Honestly, I didn't do anything with the test. I didn't even touch it. It stayed in the wrapper in my cupboard for weeks and weeks and weeks. Mm-hmm. And he tentatively came back. But professionally, he followed up like an absolute boss. And he came back and he said, have you taken that test yet? He went, do you know what? I haven't. I will get around to it. He said, look, I'll tell you what, let me do the test with you now. I've got a spare one. I said, right, I'm here. I'll do it now. Sent it away to this lab in Norway and come back. And I got really interested because my test result was absolutely shocking. Shocking. I looked the part on the outside. Do you know what I mean? I looked all right, but inside I was an absolute mess. I was a bit of a train smash inside, apparently to what the test said. So I avoided this guy like the plague for 2 weeks because I wasn't sure if this was actually genuine information. And then when he sat me down and explained it and showed me what was behind it, something clicked and I was like, I really get that. I really love the idea of that. And actually I wasn't planning to leave the Navy at the time, but this really, really gave me so I can do something for myself using the skills I've already got to help other people in a new way. And I was like, light bulb moment for me, that really was.
Okay. And so how far into your career was this, or about how many years ago? Do you remember?
2 years. It was, in fact, it was just over 2 years. I think it was like June or something. And it was just after the pandemic as well. Okay. And I kind of needed an exit plan from the military.
Yeah.
It's a big shift, you know, like, well, you spent so long in an institution being told what to do, when to do it, what to wear, how to wear it. And all of a sudden, what I really loved about the idea of, of network marketing, the industry and all that was it's very, very similar because there's a structure.
Mm-hmm.
There's something to follow. There's a team to lead. That's great. I love doing that. There's people to talk to. There's events to go to. There's a community of like-minded people, and that's so much like the military. Without all the bits that go with that, clearly. But yeah, for me, it was a really, really smart fit, and it was health based as well, which was super important for me.
Oh wow. Okay, so based on the fact that it was 2 years ago, around the time that we first started talking, so you immediately started going out looking for resources.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think one of the things you learn quickly about, and I don't call this industry the enemy, but we're being military focused. Right. In order to win something, you have to find out as much about something that's in front of you or as a barrier in front of you as much as you can, as quickly as you can. So I went out like gunfire to try and absorb as much information on nutrition as I could, to upskill myself, to come to you, to absorb all the information from you, to get in contact with you. And I did that. I've got a line of books in front of me now, and I was just like a bookworm, just eating my way through these things because I understood that the person who reads and understands the more about not necessarily the company, but the industry, then you're going to have a head start, 100%.
Yes. I love that because I'm glad that you started so early, because that I would have to say, if I were going to give advice to somebody who's just getting started in the industry now, for me, it's don't wait to start talking to other people. Don't wait to start learning elsewhere. Because I really stayed in company learning for a very long time. I'd say probably a year or maybe 18 months or so before I started looking at other books and things like that. Because I just was like, let me absorb all the things about the company and like, and I think that's pretty common. And so I would recommend for people, for you, if someone is just getting started and they just happen to be listening to this episode, what advice would you give to a brand new network marketer?
I think what I say to everybody that comes, the people that if I recruit them, I always talk to people at a level I think they're at the time. And so I don't overcomplicate things. I don't throw stardust in their eyes and say, well, you can earn $1 million a month if you really want to. Because let's be honest, if they've never earned that much money, it's a real hard shift and leap for them mentally to get into that state. So I would just say, if you're listening to this and it's your first time, just be open to as much information as you possibly can, but pick and choose a time. Because when you're first starting out on this, like I had a very, very tight schedule. I had a very busy career in the military. I'd leave, I'd have a 40-minute commute, hence why I used to chat to you all the time. A 40-minute commute to get to the college to teach. Then I'd finish, get home, family, dogs, So I had a very strict evening timeline. So I could realistically only give it 5 to 6 hours a week. And there needed to be split up between contacting people time, following up people time, learning about the structure of the business, and then me time. And me time was, every other week I would learn something outside of the business. So it would be within network marketing, but outside of the business. So I would go and find another a guest speaker, and go and look at a mastermind thing, or go and look at this. And because there's so many resources around, you've got to do that. And actually, when you do that, you'll find some nuggets of information or questions that you can go and speak to people back within your own business and say, well, what about this? Would this work? How does this work? Have you noticed this? Because a lot of people I've noticed, I'm very fortunate. This is my one and only company that I've ever joined, but there's a lot of people who have done previous things in other places.
Yeah.
And will say, yeah, that's a good idea. It may work, it may not. And it's good to get that feedback, I think.
Okay. That's good to know. Now, so you've just transitioned out of your full-time career, and now you are a full-time entrepreneur. How has your day changed now? What amount of time are you spending on the business? What does that look like? Because I know there are people listening right now who are looking to do the same thing. They want to get out of their teaching job, their nursing job, maybe their military too. I don't know.
Yeah.
What does your day now look like?
My day is still very structured. I think that's one of the advantages of coming from a military background to structure. Without that, it's chaos. Like in my mind, anyway, my little world. So I get up early in the morning. I make sure I have to plan my day ahead for success, because otherwise, the day can be a complete time sponge. A phone call can turn into an hour, 2 hours before the end of the day. It's gone. So I'm very structured in my morning. I get up. I have a faith, so I make sure I attend to that first, and I read up on that, and I absorb myself into that, which is probably for another podcast, another time.
Sure.
That's just a new thing. And I really dive deep into that. But I structure and plan my day ahead. How many meetings, how many people I'm going to speak to, and what I'm going to be doing. And I've got my coaching business as well. So, and now I run the two alongside. They're intertwined. The health business, this business here, sits perfectly inside a coaching business. Because it's one of the same conversation. Is health important to you? Great, I can coach you through that. If you don't know how to cook, I can show you how to cook. If you don't know how to get out of bed, I can show you how to get out of bed. If you're too lazy to get your trainers on, let me give you some motivation, and here's a health test to help you along your way. So for me, it's really, really good to keep that structure and keep positive as well, because network marketing is a roller coaster. The highs are really, really high, but the lows can be quite solitary. And no one that I know of worked with previously likes to lose, as you can imagine. So it's a real. You've got to talk to yourself.
Yeah,
you have to get. I quite often go, if I'm in a bit of a bad mood, right, and I'm feeling a bit funky, I have to give myself a right good talking to, take myself away and go, right, Matt, you need to pull your head out of somewhere, because this isn't you. You've been in worse situations than this overseas. Trust me. Somebody saying no, really? You're getting upset about that? They're saying no because they're not interested, or maybe they don't know enough, or maybe you presented it badly. Just let it go. Go back to them in 6 months when you've educated yourself a bit more. Just chill out.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that's the key for it. That if you are going to do it, but also one bit of advice: do not jump too early, please. Yeah. It's always, there will always be people who will give you advice on when to go. And I looked that up before I went. But I was kind of confident in where I was and what I wanted to do. It hasn't been easy, has not been easy, but I would say don't jump too early until you know that you've got a stable income that's going to keep you going. Or, if you've made it into a certain position where you've got a strong, passive, solid business underneath you, and that's really where your head, heart, and gut is, boom, then kick the doors off it and get through and go and do it.
Yep, very true. Very true. Because as I coach people through that mindset and planning of the eventual leaving of the job, the job, right? One of the things that we're oftentimes talking about is what does the income level need to be and for how long, right? So we're really planning those numbers specifically in every single time when I'm talking somebody through that, there are numbers that they weren't including that they didn't think of that I'm going, oh no, you've got to include that because, whatever, everybody has a different number that they forgot to include. So, and then I'm always saying, okay, and now we're going to buffer this with an additional 20%, right? Because ups and downs, they happen, there's natural attrition or you have a family crisis one month and you're not able to take care of your customers the way that you normally do. And so some of them forget to order or what, lots of different things come up, right? So there's that for sure. So now as you've been building, 2 years in business now, what is the top thing that you are the most proud of achieving in your business so far?
Can I tell a personal story about someone that's in my team? Because for me, it's the most proud one. Yeah, I won't use names or anything.
Absolutely.
There's a lady that I'd spoken to. So I was an ex-forces network, and I basically got the opportunity, like a 60-second elevator pitch about what you do. And I was like, right, I'm Matt Brown, just left the Navy, rabbited on, stopped. This lady spoke about hers. Then she contacted me privately and said, look, I was really interested about this idea. I'm a health coach. I really like the idea of adding it in. Can we chat? We chatted, but at the time, she was on a very, very, very low income to do with the government. It's like government assistance. I don't know what the conversion is in America.
Sure.
And that's kind of a trap to a degree because she can't earn any more, not even a penny over that because she loses the whole thing. So she's really hesitant about coming into this because she's like, how do I earn the extra money without doing it? And I don't want to be above board. I don't want to dodge the government. How do I do it? And I didn't have an answer at the time. I really didn't have an answer at the time because I'd not dealt with it. 2, I was inexperienced, but I had somebody that was in my upline that is now an absolute rocket superstar who helped me on that call. So long story short, he gave me some great information, but the timing wasn't right for her. Anyway, just before November last year, I get this message in my back office saying, congratulations, you got a new business partner. I was like, what? I mean, that's lovely when that happens, right? I didn't do a thing for it. I was like, no, this has got to be a fix. Somebody's seeing me off. So I looked at the back and it was this lady. So anyway, I immediately got on the phone and I said, hi, how are you? Have you joined? What's going on? She went, yeah, I've been saving up for about 6 months to buy a basic kit to come in. And my heart was just like glowing. I was like, oh, wow, you did that? And she went, yeah, because I really wanted to work with you and I really believed in what you did. And I was like, whew, okay, now we're talking. Now we're talking real team training. And I was ready. We buckled up and we went to work. And she's got a huge backstory and she's actually part of the American Institute of Health Coaching and stuff. She's very big connections in America. Anyway, she's a great lady. She's got so much personality, and it was my mission to get her where she needed to go. And we worked, and we were side by side. We were like Batman and Robin, right? And we were going through. And you know what? The first couple of times, she's like, I'm really struggling. No one's listening to me. No one's this. I'm like, okay, it's fine. We'll get on the phone together. We'll do it together. Mm-hmm. And I said, give me 5 of your contacts. I'm going to go and call to them. No, but you don't know them. I went, it doesn't matter. Let me do this for you. Please let me do it. So I went in and I said, by the way, this is what I'm doing. I'm helping this lady out. I know that you already know her. This is my plan. So anyway, I talked about the structure and what it does and the products and how good they are and how much it would benefit the individual based on what they told me as a need. I left it like that. I said, get back with this lady. You know what? And I think at the end of the week, she smashed all of her targets. At the end of the month, she's got a bonus promotion within the company because she'd done so well. And by the end of the second month, she was just absolutely, she was like a different woman on the phone. She was acting different. She was confident. She had this like big strut going on, you know, she was just, and for me, I was just like, that is exactly why I do what I do within this, because you can take somebody from who's got a real almost stuck in a financial prison that sees nothing but walls around them and no way out, but scrimps and saves to get themselves the most basic, cheapest thing they could to get themselves into the business, even though you can come in for free. But she was adamant that she needed something, and she did it. And through that, I was just like, you know what? I'd rather coach somebody like that who's got that hunger and that desire. And she's still going now. She's still going for it now. And it's just wonderful to sit back and watch her grow and climb. It's phenomenal. So yeah, that would be my biggest win, without doubt.
I've got like full body like chills. Like that's such a fantastic story. I love it.
She's
so
amazing.
Much. Oh my gosh. That is huge. I mean, the nice thing is, for going on the outside look here, right? Which is for people who are afraid to lead. It's as simple as saying, let me do this for you.
Yeah.
Right? Let me do this for you. Give me 5 people. I'll call them for you. I'll have a conversation. Because we as the leaders, this is something I experienced too. We as the leaders have zero connection or attachment to our team's network's response.
Yeah.
You know? And we also get to share the back end and be like, I'm working with her because she has this goal. And you have an opportunity, if you're available, if you're interested in helping her reach it. And it enrolls people in the goal, in the dream, in the vision, right? As a leader. That is so freaking cool.
It's so cool. I loved it. And you know, just to see her confidence explode, and even her coaching business started taking off as well, because she goes, I just sold a £600 coaching, and I've never sold a coaching before. I was like, yes, come on, you're killing it. And I let her into a secret as well. So 5 of the contacts she gave me, 2 of them absolutely blew me out. They completely blew me out. Like I was like, oh, fair enough. And I even said to her, look, there's 2 contacts. They were not interested, Cara. They were just not interested at all. Yeah. And she was like, oh, really? What did you say? I said, hey, listen, that's not a problem. You know, maybe if you need some more information, I just did it professionally. And but it was more of an opportunity. I think what I showed her without trying to show her, with it's okay to go into a conversation and for people to say, I don't really want what you've got. That's okay. You know, I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to get you in a headlock or come around your house and start eating your stuff. Do you know, it's kicking the door down. Right, it's me, military man, stand by.
Open the bottle, glug, glug, glug. You're going to take this this
I've got skills. I'm going to make you take it. No. But yeah, so she learned it's okay to, and a bit of resilience on that one as well. We had fun with it. We just had some fun with it. And I think that's the key. You know, the moment this industry starts getting really serious, there's a moment you need to go and have a chat with yourself outside and just go, come on, let's have some fun. Why did I start this in the first place? Yeah. It's always good to have a reset.
Love it. Love it. Okay. So we've talked about what you're most proud of. What challenge are you dealing with in your business right now? Because as you know, we have thousands of listeners right now. Somebody has gone through what you're dealing with right now. And I've had guests say, a listener reached out to me and helped me with a solution to my problem. So what's your biggest challenge right now? How can we help you?
I think my biggest challenge is the transition between an institution-based lifestyle to an entrepreneur. There's a big gap. There's so many similarities, but there's a big gap. And I know that we shared this story, previously about the Snowman.
Yes.
Yeah. And so when I left the military, it wasn't the way I expected to leave, and it was quite unceremonious, to be honest. When I had my ID card snipped in front of me after 26 years, it fell into the bin, and that was kind of it. And everybody was really quiet in the HR office, and I walked out there saying, "Bye, everybody. But I'm leaving. Bye." After 26 years, and no one looked up from the computers, and I was like, "Wow, okay, is this how it ends?" And I remember getting outside of the gates of the unit. And I'm not afraid to admit, I had a real moment. I had a real hard time. And I'm still working through that as well now, Jenny. I'm still trying to work out what my purpose is beyond my rank. So one of my main things I try and coach people now is reaching back into veterans at the moment, or people that are in the service, and they call it the pension trap. So you've got about 7 years on your career left to go. There's the golden nugget at the end with a payout and a good pension. So people go, well, if I just stay in for the next 7 years, and that was kind of me until I went to a wine bar, right, and got an exit strategy given to me.
Yes.
And so for me now, I'm trying to work out what my purpose is beyond my rank, and that's what I'm reaching in to do, people. But I held over Christmas a lot of anger, a lot of resent, a lot of things that weren't quite right. And it slowed me down in my network marketing business because I was so distracted by being angry, I'd almost lost sight of where I was trying to go in my business. And I'll be honest, my customers had dropped back because I wasn't engaging, and I was just like, I looked at my back office after Christmas and was like, oh, this is a big hill to climb to get back on top. Oof. And one of the things I coach people that come to me is about letting the snowman melt. And I'm going to swear on this because I think it just adds a little bit more sex.
That's totally fine.
Right, so get ready, strap yourselves in, people. So anyway, the theory of the letting the snowman melt is sometimes you go through life and you have this idea when you first start your snowman, is you have this idea of what the snowman's going to look like in the future. So you begin the process of rolling this snowman, and it's pure and white at the beginning. And as you're rolling around this field, all of a sudden you roll through some shit, and it's in there now. I'll just keep rolling. Maybe it'll get bigger and I won't notice it. And then you roll through another stick, and then a stone will appear, and you're like, this is not the snowman I wish. And before you know it, you've rolled this snowman, and it's covered in shit. It's got sticks and stones in it, and it looks pretty crap. And you're like, this is not where I thought I was going to be with this snowman. You've got two choices. You can either continue to roll that snowman through the shit, or you can stand back and you can let it melt. So my decision a couple of weeks back was, you know what? I've got to stop rolling this snowman through the shit, and I've got to let it melt. And the good thing about letting that snowman melt is you get an opportunity to start again with the hindsight and information. If you roll another snowman, you can avoid some of the shit that you found before because you've got information, education, and you can avoid some of the sticks. And hopefully you may have a better version of a snowman 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. But it's about rolling it, finding experience. And if it's not right, let it go. Stop holding on to it. Stop rolling it through the same shit. Let it melt. Let the snowman melt.
Love that analogy. In fact, that's probably going to be the title of this episode.
Let the snowman melt. Yeah.
Let the snowman melt.
Why not? Yeah,
so now the listener who looked at the title when they pulled it up, what do you mean let the snowman melt? What's this got to do with network marketing?
Yeah. There's like some sort of, yes, maybe it's an ice cream company I'm working for. You can buy ice cream off subscription. Hey, that's not a bad idea, Jenny.
I know, right? Like,
who wouldn't want that?
I know, multiple streams of income, and plus for you being on the health side, here, buy some ice cream, and are you out of balance now?
Yeah. Hey, perfect.
Well, we joke about this, and yet my mother grew up with a dentist who, at the end of her dental appointments, would hand a coupon to the local ice cream shop.
Brilliant.
Like, here, I just cleaned your teeth. Go put some more sugar.
It's brilliant. It's genius. I mean, the man's a genius. He's probably a billionaire by now.
Oh, well, he's probably dead by now. But yes, his dental practice probably did pretty well. Anyway, so you've now been building with this health company for 2 years. Yeah. You are now getting to do this full time, and you and I talked about this a little bit, and I think you've alluded to it. So you're doing some health coaching, and you've wrapped your network marketing in business into the health coaching because it all fits together. So we haven't said the name of the company yet. In case people don't know, if they haven't heard, tell us, which company are you with?
So the company is a Scandinavian test-based company, and it's called Zinzino, which I think a couple of people have been previously as guests on here about Zinzino. And for me, one of the most important things when I chose this as a company, and believe me, I've had plenty of offers from different companies in the past, and I've never felt comfortable for many different reasons, personal reasons, of why that wasn't the right one for me to join. This came along, and it was test-based, and that really got me interested because for me, I see how the world has changed in terms of health, right? And you don't need to be a mathematician, a scientist, or a politician to look around the globe and notice that the world's health status isn't getting any better. In fact, it's actually getting a lot worse. And I think you've only got to look as far as what people are putting in their mouths, and the access people have got to food. And I think we, as humans, inherently, we all know what we should be doing, right? We know we should be eating a better range diet, and we should be eating whole foods, and we should be eating this. But there's temptation, there's marketing, there's laziness, there's a lack of education in some instances, there's a lack of funding sometimes, that stops you from doing all the things you want to do. And the upshot of that is that the world's health now, they reckon 90%, 97% of the world is probably going to be out of balance. I mean, the company have tested 1.2 million people worldwide so far. 97% of every single test comes back is deficient in omega-3s and too high in omega-6s, which is the inflammation stuff we're eating from a modern diet. So that, for me, really worries me with children as well. And when I take myself out of this business perspective, I think about my children in the world they're going to be operating in the future, and the access they're going to have to food. I think we're going to have to rely more on smart nutrition. It's going to be a thing because let's be honest, we're not going to be able to take down all of these massive food companies. It's just not going to happen, right? So we've got to get with the program. We've got to get realistic. And I think we need to be smart with the supplements we're taking. One of the things that stood out for me was they really, really, really are professional, high grade, and they really love their research. So for me, that was perfect. I absolutely bought into that. And so now I get the opportunity to sit down with my clients. And when I do an onboarding with them this is the before and after story. So before somebody would come to me and say, Matt, look at the state of me. I look like a dropped lasagna. I feel disgusting. I'm not myself. I don't know what to do. No worries. I've got you. And you do a thing called a PAR-Q, which is like an onboarding, really. You ask a few pertinent questions about health and kind of why they've come to you, which is a normal thing for any health coach to do. And then you kind of work out the pain problems and go from there. But now I get to say, if there was a test that you could take right now with me that shows you your health on the inside, and if your diet's working for you currently, would you take it? Because then we know for sure, without guessing, what we can improve on. And the changes can be made in 120 days, which is what I like, because the 120-day marker, for those who aren't sure, was how long it takes for the red blood cell to regenerate and recirculate and then become a new version of itself. So that's the marker. Okay. So really, you've got an opportunity every 120 days to be a better version of yourself with the nutrition you're eating. That's the company. That's why I add it neatly into my business, and I get real smart results from it as well. No guesswork anymore.
I love that. And because there are quite a few other health and wellness companies out there that are not test and nutrition based, which doesn't make them bad. It just means
no. You
have no idea what's working and what's not. Past the scale or the measurement, and even then, is it the best? So
exactly. I used to send people all over the place, into high street shops and stuff before I knew anything about this.
Right.
And of course, I used to go down and say, "Oh, you need to take this, that, and the other." If you're not eating it, and let's be honest, if you're eating it for food, great, keep doing it. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. But if you're not, you need to find a smart way of supplementing. I use my dad as a classic example. Horrendous at eating, really, really poor. And I said to him, well, if you're not having it in your food, Dad, your A to Z library of food has got A, D, and F. That's awful. Yeah. You need the rest of the library to make up. And if you're not doing it, you need to supplement it. So I used to send him to the shops and get anything. But it's kind of like you walk in there with your fingers crossed, hoping that what you spent your hard-earned money on, especially nowadays, is actually going to work for you. So why not shop smart and take something is going to have an effect because it's tested.
Love that. I love that. Okay. So before we wrap things up, the next thing I want to know is, where are you taking your business? What's your goal? What's your end vision for your business with Enzino and coaching?
So my business was Enzino. I really, really, really want to take this through the UK first. This is my strategy. So I think when I first started, I said, "Oh, I want to help the world with their health." That's great. That's amazing. It's a lovely thing to think, but realistically, when you realize the amount of work that goes into that, it's huge. It's huge. So I've got to start with the UK, and I'm not that I'm gonna, if people knock on my door from other places, I go, "No, sorry, I'm UK only."
Right.
I'm certainly going to let them in and work with them. Of course I am. But I want to make sure that I can help at least 10,000 people in the UK to begin with. But I can't do that on my own. So when I bring people into my team, it's not an interview, but I will work with people that are very much my mindset. And I'm quite picky. I'm not an arsehole with it, by the way, Jenny.
Right.
I'm not a complete militarized person, but I will only work with kind of the people that I know have got the similar values to me and the work ethic that want to go and do it, because I know that I'll gel with them and it will make a much stronger bond. And I want to know them outside of the workplace as well. I want to go and have a beer with them, or if they've got a barbecue going, I want to get around I'm really good at eating barbecue food, right? Really good. I'm amazing at it. Buffets, I'm all over it. So I want to eat buffet and eat barbecue with them, right?
Oh, by the way, if you love barbecue, then you have to come to St. Louis sometime.
Oh, really?
We have the best barbecue. The best.
Yeah, so
now,
that is
people
an
in
open
Memphis,
invite. Everybody heard it.
Yeah, well, you have an invite. Yes, come to St. Louis. You're welcome. But I'm telling you, all the people in Memphis and the Carolinas and down south, there will be some people who are in Kansas City. They are all going to dispute the St. Louis is the best barbecue.
Really?
So while you're over here, you might have to visit a few other cities to get a full thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I might lean off taking the next test until I've given myself a few months when I get back.
Good idea. So your goal then, and I love how clear and specific it is. 10,000 people in the UK.
Yep.
Love it. So brilliant. So I can't wait. So we're gonna have to invite you back and go, okay, how many have you helped? Where are you now? Let's take this to the next level, right?
Yeah. It's fun. Yeah.
So for those who are listening right now and you're fascinated by what Matt has had to share about this, he's actually offering for the Badass Crew, because he's one of you. He listens. He's part of the group, y'all.
Yeah.
He is offering a complimentary 20-minute personal health consultation and access to the health test. So tell us more about that, Matt.
Yeah, so you're going to get some time with me, and not just because I want to, take some blood off you. I'm not a vampire, but it's more of a case of I've got some skills that I've built. I sound like Liam Neeson. I'm not Liam Neeson. I've got a specific set of skills that I've built over a number of years. But I have got some skills around coaching, and if you'd like to know how to let the snowman go or let it melt, then I think I've got your back, because I've adopted so many different strategies to my coaching, as in cold water immersion stuff that I teach and do every day, breathing techniques, because this is all part of the 360 approach to health. So it's an opportunity to sit with me either on a Zoom or over a phone call if you're more comfortable with that face to face, just to stretch out some ideas about what things are stopping you from where you are now, where you'd like to be in the future, and there's a gap. And there's a complimentary test, so you can for sure test yourself. And then once you get your test results back, if you wish to get on the health journey, then absolutely you can do that. So that would be my offer to anybody out there, and to reach out as well. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Okay. So if you are interested in this, we are including a link, including the link to his Instagram, because that is where he is the most active. So he wants you to reach out via Instagram, y'all. So if you're a Facebook person, you have access to Instagram. It's totally fine. But if you really want to get a hold of him, Instagram's the way to go. So, Matt, this has been such an amazing conversation. Thank you
for having me. Yeah, it's been amazing. And finally, we got to do it. It's great. I'm really honored to have developed and graduated out of the Badass sort of boot camp, and now here I am.
Yeah. Oh, you're creating more ideas in my head.
Oh, sorry about me. Yeah, sorry about me. Yeah, but that's really good, though, isn't it?
Right?
Badass boot camp. Come on.
Might have to start a Badass boot camp. I mean, Come on, why not? I mean, it's people on their way to badassity. So
yeah, hey, come on, let's market it.
All right, seriously. Okay, Badass Crew, please reach out to Matt. Thank him for this information, especially if something he said today spurred a thought, inspiration, motivation. Reach out, and at least he's part of y'all, guys. Reach out and say, thanks for your information. Thanks for sharing your story, because there are other veterans, I'm sure, who are going to be very excited to hear what you're going
Yeah.
through, and you can connect on that as well. So thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you, Matt. I love
love.
chatting with you. Mwah.
Mwah. Thank you very much. Big love, guys. See you soon.
Absolutely. And Badass Crew, stay tuned because you know how this goes. There's another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.